Hi, One Share leaders. I am excited to be talking with you again. This week, we are going to be rolling out, in addition to the leadership development program over the next year, we're going to do some little monthly coaching check-ins. And these will be brief little videos that I send you because I know you have busy days and not a lot of time. But the importance of training and development is to be consistent with it. So in talking with HR and different leaders, I'm going to find what's relevant to you each month and send out little snippets of things that maybe you're going through or have questions about. Maybe it's something you've heard of or haven't heard of, or maybe just a new perspective on something and ideas you haven't thought of yet. Now, when it comes to the engagement survey we recently rolled out, I want to talk today about the importance of collecting feedback, but then what do we do with it? Have you ever been asked for your opinion and then completely ignored? For example, we all have that friend or family member or someone that's come to you for advice. Maybe it's relationship advice, life advice, advice on a challenge that they're facing. And you spend a lot of time and energy and thoughtfulness in providing it on many occasions, but they never make any changes. What happens next? You probably stop giving it, right? You may even distance yourself from that person because you don't believe them capable of change. You're tired of putting your energy into someone that, seems fruitless or doesn't respect or care about the time and energy you're spending on them. So people are human, and in business, we operate in the same way. Now, a huge component of engaging employees is asking them for feedback and then getting them involved in the process. And that last part's pretty crucial because, like we've already established, if you ask for feedback and the momentum stops there, it actually has the opposite effect. It becomes a huge disengager for people. So it's really important that if you're going to ask feedback, you already commit at the end of the process to take that feedback and turn it into action steps and communicate with your team or your company about what that's going to look like. So as leaders, what are some ways that we can capitalize on engaging our employees through feedback and make sure that we're following through? First is find ways to create consistent modes of communication and open dialogue. So this could be having like a weekly meeting, bi-weekly meeting, where every 30 minutes on a Friday you get the team together and you just, for the purpose of collecting feedback or new ideas or brainstorming, that'd be a great option. Maybe it's part of your bi-weekly one-on-ones with your direct report, so they know that they're constantly willing to bring what's currently happening to the table and you're going to listen. Or maybe it's an email change specifically for this purpose, for your team to provide feedback. And the logic behind it is twofold. First is that you create a culture of open communication where you build trust between your employees and you, and they feel comfortable coming to you with anything. Therefore, when problems arise, you're most likely going to know about it sooner, and we always know that intervention is key. Late intervention is when the problems happen, or the disengagement in the employee, or the frustration builds, or impacts the business become greater, right? So culture of open communication between you and your team members can be really beneficial. The second is that needs and priorities change over time. So something that might be impacting your employee today or hindering their performance, or an idea that they have for process improvement or innovation, that might change or be gone or forgotten in the midst of the chaos of each week, a month from now, 2 months from now, 3 months from now. Number two is ask the right questions and then ask a lot of follow-up questions. So if I want to check in on an employee, and not just check in general, but maybe I want to ask them about how their job's going or a particular scope that they're working on, I'm probably not going to ask the generic question of, hey, how's it going? They could give me a variety of responses, like how their cat was sick last weekend, or what they did this past weekend, or things in their life or things in their work. And even though it's really valuable, and I definitely want to have those types of question and answer sessions with my employees so that I know what's going on in their life and what might be impacting them at work, it doesn't help me answer what I'm really trying to get to, which is, what is this particular project or this job scope you're working on? So when it comes to asking the question, make sure that you're being specific around what it is that you want to know. If you need to know if they have enough support, if the team's growing, if they feel the team's growing in the right direction, ask those questions straight up. And then dig deeper to make sure you truly understand their perspective on things or where they might be coming from or their full scope of, what's going on. So that leads us to number three, which is know how to interpret your data. And I say data because that's essentially what we're doing. We're not talking to computers, we're talking to people, but we are collecting data so that we know what to do about it. And this goes back to those follow-up questions. Make sure when you leave that meeting, you have a clear enough understanding of what's transpired, what your employee is presenting, the problems they're addressing, so that you know how to start implementing an effective solution. We're so busy that you might walk away from that meeting if you haven't asked the right questions and enough follow-up questions to truly gain understanding. You're going to go into the next 5 meetings of your day and 20 meetings of your week. And when it gets around time for you to start implementing an action plan, you're going to realize you're quite fuzzy on the details and you don't really know where to start. So you can't be effective as a leader in that way. Number 4 is huge, like one of my most important things, especially in a leadership position. Communicate, communicate, communicate. And I can't stress this enough, because as much as we'd like to think that people extend us grace and assume the best of us, humans actually have the opposite tendency. We tend to assume the worst. And when we make assumptions, a lot of things can go awry very quickly. For example, if there's something that a team member brought to you and it's big and impacts the whole team, maybe just not that team member, communicate to the whole team. Hey, I had a team member bring this to my attention. It seems like it might be something that's impacting everybody, so I want you to know it's important to me, and I will be following back up on it with a plan on how to address it. Or if it's a specific employee that brings something to the table, check in with them regularly and let them know where you stand and where you are in the process of acting on it. It doesn't matter if you can't get to it tomorrow or next month or 3 months from now. They just want to know that they've been heard, you're keeping them top of mind, and that their needs are important to you. That leads into the next component of this, which is set realistic expectations. I always say there's nothing worse than expectations unfulfilled. It's almost like deflating a balloon, right? We have this idea of something, and then when it comes short of that, we get more frustrated than if we knew what it was going to actually look like in the beginning. So think about it for a second. If it's my birthday tomorrow, and I have a friend that comes to me and says, hey, I want to take you out, I want to do something special for you, make plans for that, and then they cancel last minute because they're just so overwhelmed with work. But you've already made arrangements, you've gotten excited about it. Maybe if you have kids, you've arranged a babysitter. We all know how long that takes. And you probably feel really, really frustrated and disappointed in that person. And even if they end up following through 2 weeks later, it's not the same. They still feel like they've been let down. And maybe that they can't count on you or rely on you as much. Now, scenario 2 is if your friend transparently comes to you and says, hey, I'm in the middle of a huge project of work. It's taking up all my spare time. My kid is sick. I'm just feeling a little overwhelmed. And like I'm unable to plan something nice for you tomorrow. But it's really important to me. So let's plan for 2 weeks from now. That way I have time to make it really, really special for you. And then when that happens 2 weeks later, you're thrilled. You probably understand where they're coming from. And because they've been realistic and transparent with you up front, you don't have any of the negative backlash. Okay, number 5, last one. Translate feedback into action. Again, it ends up becoming a disengager if we collect feedback and we do nothing about it. So this is really, really key, you guys. As a leader, we have a ton of pressure on us to deliver, coach, motivate, grow, train. We're expected to do it all, and we have the same amount of hours in the day as everybody else. But the reality is that you don't have to do it all alone. So 2 heads are better than 1, 4 pairs of hands are better than 2, right? It's probably better if you leverage your team in the process. So get your team involved in some ideas of how to solve the problems from their feedback. Maybe it's through better processes or a step-by-step action plan or a new initiative that will address, what's being brought up or ideas they brought to the table. Not only will they feel more engaged because you're getting them in the process, but they're going to feel empowered, like they can take ownership of their own change. So not only should you get them involved in the plan, but get them involved where possible in the execution too. It's important to delegate. Again, they're going to feel empowered. They're going to feel excited that they're part of the process. And it's also going to eliminate those people that are just coming with problems and not wanting to actually take hold of solutions. It's going to kind of weed those out and make them pretty clear to you. Like they want to come with problems, but they don't want to be part of the solution. We don't want those on our team anyway, right? So Get them involved in the process wherever possible, and results will also most likely happen faster because it's not entirely on your shoulders to do it. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to me and ask. Comments, concerns, feel free. I'm always open to dialogue. And I look forward to sending you a new coaching conversation next month, and stay awesome.